everyone, and welcome to our webinar. I would like to start by saying thank you to our fabulous panel here, spanning various time zones. People are tired or it's early in the morning, so we appreciate you all ladies joining for this very interesting topic. If we do our job properly at the end of this panel, I think you'll all be very excited about the career opportunities in working in ICT, and especially as a woman. So maybe we'll first start defining a little bit, what do we mean by ICT? So, it stands for information and communication technology, but what does it really mean? And really it means a really wide range of things and opportunities. It spans the fiber, which is connecting all of us on this call and yourself who are listening to the webinar to be able to listen to this. It spans when you're making a phone call, somebody has built towers or relaying the signal from one tower to the other. You'll hear from people on this panel who are more on the applications and new technologies of the spectrum. So really ICT is really wide range, and you can really make almost what you want out of that sector and really find something which is for you. And in the types of companies, could be Vodafone, Bell, Rogers, Google, Microsoft, AWS, other companies you've never heard of, because as I mentioned, they lay out the fiber to make this happen. So there's really, a number of opportunities which we'll touch on here. But enough about me. We really have exciting panelists here. So maybe I'll start by, Reuma, I think you're kind of the ideal to get this started because you founded your recruitment firm. So you are really seeing a wide range of opportunities and career paths in the sector. So why don't you take it away and talk to us about some of the types of career you're seeing in the industry?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Reuma. I'm the founder and CEO of Pair Recruitment. The type of jobs you could find in the ICT vary between all segments. So either you choose to be a lawyer, there would be a lawyer opportunity for you. If you decide to go on marketing, there are lots of marketing. We also have sales, which is quite broad in the ICT. But if you decide to do also technology, there are so many opportunities in the industry on the technology side. So from network engineer to various, even get into chief technology officer. So the opportunities are very, very broad in the ICT. Whatever roles you want, you can find in the ICT.
This is great. And maybe if we go down to a little bit more of the specifics with some, some examples from some other ladies on the panel, maybe starting with you, Isabelle, how did you end up in that sector and what led you there? And maybe could you share a little bit more about your background?
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Isabelle Paradis, and I'm president of HOT TELECOM. So like many people in the industry, I came into the industry by chance. But if we go back to, a few steps back before that, when I was at school, at college, I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. When I was 18, I had no idea. I knew I liked to solve problems. I know I had an analytic mind. I know I liked technology, but I had no idea what to do. So I went to my brothers, and I think it's probably one of the only good recommendations they gave me in my life. I said to them, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. And they said, why don't you become an engineer? Because if you're an engineer, it opens all the doors. Once you've done your engineering degree, you can do anything you want in life. You can be a lawyer if you decide that you want to continue education. You can go in marketing. You can go in anything you want. So I thought that's quite good. So I decided to do that. And I had an amazing time in the engineering school. It was very difficult, but I felt that engineering and tech prepared me for life, because you learn how life works, but also you learn to solve problems, you will learn to work in teams. It was very difficult, but it prepared me for the rest of my career. So that's how I became, I went into technologies. And then when I finished my engineering degree, funny enough, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. So I started looking for a job, and my best friend found a job in a telecom company in Canada called Teleglobe at the time. And there was an opening, and she said, why don't you put your name down? And I did, and I never looked back, because I found that was the best industry ever. I had so much fun, and that's how I started my career. So from there, I worked in the telecom, this company was an international telecom company, And after a while there, I went out and I started my own business. So now I run my own business who does telecom consulting and marketing and market research. So that's how I got into the industry, and I had the best time ever during my career. I'm so happy that I was lucky enough to find that.
Fantastic. Emily, what about you? Was it because of a brother, or did something else bring you to ICT?
I wish my brother was supportive in my career choices. No, I'm Emily Newman. I am the PR marketing manager at NJFX, and I just kind of stumbled upon this industry. I kind of came in at a significant transition as the pandemic started to open up businesses and traveling started to come. I was in a position where I wasn't really doing marketing. I was doing merchandising and retail, and I wanted to go back into the marketing space because post-pandemic, I did web development and graphic design. Had a couple of obstacles in between. The pandemic came in and I had to make choices. And once everything started opening up again, I came to the realization that I wanted to go back to my passion. I wanted to do marketing, regardless of what the industry was. I was very confident on wanting to have some career in New York City. So I just kept applying to positions in New York constantly. It was very discouraging after, 30, 40 applications being put in and not getting any feedback, any suggestions or any, interviews. I was starting to get discouraged. I was like, you know what, maybe New York isn't my ideal moment right now. Let me expand my radius. Let's be a little bit more open into my opportunities that we have in front of me. And that's where I stumbled upon NJFX, not even knowing what fiber exchange is or what a cable landing station is, but I knew what my core skill sets was marketing, and you could apply those fundamental skills to any industry regarding what they might be selling, what their services are. So I was able to amplify what my skill sets were to our company's messaging. So I was very happy to be able to open myself up, get past that discouragement, and find a company that really has set myself up to a great career path.
Kudos to you on the persevering on your dream. Well, what about you, Shannon?
Yeah, so I would love to say that I just kind of stumbled across this industry because I would love to see more of that happening. But my father, he has been in the industry his whole career. But it's funny, growing up, I never in a million years thought that I would be working in the same industry as him, because he is highly technical. He has 3 master's degrees in engineering and mathematics and all of this stuff. And so growing up being the opposite of him, being someone who was more, I was the person who loved English and social studies and art, and I was creative. And so for me, entering, college, I went for marketing and communications and didn't see how that was going to be a path to telecom, right? But come my senior year of college, I was working as a real estate agent in Manhattan. So I knew, I enjoyed the people aspect, and I was in sales clearly, but I kind of had a moment where I was like, I don't think I want to do this forever. And I spoke to my dad and I was like, do you have any suggestions of, paths I should explore? And he's like, have you ever considered telecom or ICT? And I was like, no. Do you think I could pursue a career in that space? And he was like, absolutely. And that's when I realized that you don't need to be, you don't need to come from that, highly technical background. So much of what I've learned has been on the job. And, I can now definitely speak to a lot of things where years ago, my younger self, I wouldn't have been able to fathom understanding or comprehending. So it was through his encouragement that I found myself as an intern at a fiber company in college, and then I was ultimately hired full-time by them. And it was I was in a sales hybrid inside sales marketing role, and it was a small group of people, so I really got to be fully immersed in that small kind of startup culture, fully immersed in so many different projects, learned so much on the job. And from there, it's been almost 7 years now, and I haven't looked back. I mean, it's been an incredible journey. But starting off, as an intern in the industry, thinking, having that major imposter syndrome, thinking I'm not technical enough for this, that is so far from true, and you will learn so much on the job. So that's kind of how I found myself here.
Oh, great. And I think that that's a nice segue into maybe for Reuma and Mancy, in terms of your own professional journey. And are there some credentials or requirements which are needed, or can you really just, reorient yourself and kind of stumble into a work in technology or ICT?
I can kick that off. So let me start by introducing myself. Hi, my name is Mansi Maken. I'm an engineer who went into banking and then decided to circle back to tech. So I think I've had a slightly different path in that I knew I wanted to be an engineer pretty early on. My dad was an engineer. I had watched him and I was full on nerding out on it and I was ready to go do that. So I don't think I looked around very hard. I knew I wanted to do it. In terms of whether you need the credentials or not, I believe it depends on what you're trying to do. Of course, if you're trying to be a programmer or try to do some of the technical work that needs to happen, the engineering degree or computer science or any version there would help. But as so many folks here have already mentioned, there are many other paths. If you don't want to be technical, there are many non-technical roles that also need to be filled in these industries. So you can find a way in depending on your interests. And I'll pass it on to Reuma if she has any thoughts to add there.
Yeah, as a headhunter, I would see different levels of jobs opportunities. But if we're talking about entry point, most of the entry point wouldn't necessarily ask the experience in the telecom. They will ask very much of a basic experience. So, for example, if you have a marketing degree or any commercial degree, you will probably get into the ICT quite easily, either with no experience or really, really limited experience. So I would say, for example, my journey to the ICT was very, very much by accident. So I have marketing experience and my degree is more for advertising. And I got into an ICT company, which then someone resigned and I had to backfill his position. And when I saw the opportunity of dealing with voice trading, I was really, really scared because I couldn't understand what does it mean, and I have no experience in that. But I have to say, as a headhunter and someone been in the industry for so long, you will study that quite fast, and the more passion you will have to succeed in your position, you will find a way to learn everything.
This is great. And I think a lot of the stories here have, a common link, which is to say by accident or stumbled upon it. So by definition, I think it probably means that maybe there were not as much or as many role models that looked like us in the industry. That means that when you entered the industry, maybe you looked new or different. So how did you navigate, being new or different in the industry and really establishing your own brand or your own presence? So I'll open it up to, to the whole group, but maybe starting with you, Isabelle.
Well, I guess I was raised with brothers and I was an engineer around men. So I guess there's we shouldn't hide it. Telecom is not only a men's world, but there's a lot of male around, in this industry. It's changing rapidly, but so for me, it wasn't a big deal because I've learned to be around men and I didn't even notice there was a lot more men than women. And it was never a thing for me. So I never thought, I'm not getting this job because I'm a woman or so. And also in life, I think you have to think like that. You can't always think of yourself as a victim. You have to think of yourself, okay, I didn't get that job because maybe I wasn't the right person and things like that. So I was thinking like that anyway. But I'm going to tell you a story that was kind of made me realize things even more. Through my job, I interviewed some CEOs around the world, and I interviewed the CEO of Telia, it's a telecom company in the Nordics, and she was a woman. And I just talked to her about the industry, the technology, and so on. And my last question was, how is it to be a woman in telecom? What do you feel about that? And she told me something interesting. She said, Isabelle, she said, when you're on stage and you're the only woman, or you're in a room and you're only a few women, it's a very big benefit because people will notice you, and it's good to be different. So don't think it's a bad thing. Actually, it's a good thing that you can capitalize on if you're intelligent and you bring the right points to the, if you prove that you know what you're talking about. Being in the minority is actually a big plus. And so I found a quote that really worked for me in the end is, don't be afraid to be different, be afraid to be like everyone else. So I said, why do I want to be the same as everyone else? No, I want to be different because it's good to be different. People notice you and people want to be, know what you're thinking because you're thinking differently to others. Maybe that's very interesting. You don't want to talk to someone that thinks like everyone else. I'm not going to learn anything from that person. So it's changed. I already, wasn't really stuck on that topic at all, but it kind of made me realize even more how great it was actually to be a woman in telecom. If you can create a good brand, a strong brand, and you stick with that, and you prove that you know what you're talking about. So for me, it's not, being different is a great thing, and that's something you should strive for. So for me, and I think I show it in my life and in my career, I'm always different to everyone else, and I embrace that fully.
Fantastic. Anything else somebody on the panel would like to add on this?
I'd like to share. Navigating, like I said, I'm 2 years, I'm still relatively new to the industry. Like I still go to conferences and I'm pretty much the new face still in the room. So I still kind of feel those challenges today. It's just being able to accept them. My first experience, coming into this industry, it was 2 weeks in and my CEO said, we're going to Capacity Latam. It's a huge conference. As I said, COVID just started opening up again. So this was one of the first conferences people were able to start seeing each other again. And you saw that the enlightenment of people seeing their faces in person opposed to video chat. And I'm very blessed on having my CEO taking that leap on bringing me to a conference and pushing me into a space that I was very uncomfortable. There's 500 attendees. Out of those 500 attendees, maybe 450 of them were all men, and they were Portuguese. They're all Latam. They don't speak English. And then you see, 20 women in this room, and they all have to identify themselves, be a strong leader, and show yourself to the table. And it really was empowering to be, okay, like I am the only woman in this room of 500 men. How can I bring my identity out there, show my power, show my skill set without being like, oh, she's just a woman sitting at a table. No, I have skill sets to bring and I have conversations to bring to the table. And that was a huge change. And I still have that difficulty today. Like I said, still being somewhat new and different into this industry. But I've seen a lot of recognition as I come to these conferences. You build that network and that strong core group where you feel confident. And when you walk into a room and you can go to that person and even team up and network because they might be also uncomfortable as well. It's just expanding your group, learning your surroundings and just being able to talk on anything.
Yeah, I love that, Emily. And sorry. I'd love to chime in and just piggyback real quick off of what Emily said. And I did realize I neglected to say what I do currently when I was previously speaking. So I'm the National Field Marketing at Myriad 360. But to Emily's point, when I first kind of got into the space, I was extremely nervous at my first conference, and looking around that room, sea of men, a very similar experience, shared experience here with the group, I'm sure. And so something that I'd like to call out, which really worked for me, and I think really catapulted me into finding more comfortability, growing my network, really being able to establish my presence and my brand in the industry was, at first you might have that, imposter syndrome, which I'm going to keep bringing up because it was really something that I face and still facing in certain regards, as so many of us probably are. And so, that's very, very real. But at the same time, I kind of had this realization that the people in this room, if I was to go up to someone and say, hey, I really loved what you said on that panel, I'd love to get some time with you and chat or just understand more. I'm new to this industry. Do you have some time to speak with me? And realizing that people are really excited to do that. You know, people are really excited to sit with the new generation, and, you know, especially if you're just interested to pick their brain or even just learn more about how they got in their current role. And so I started doing that. When I would go to conferences, if somebody said something that really resonated with me, I would seek them out. If I couldn't find them on site, I would message them on LinkedIn and say, I would love to grab some time with you. And then, you know, parallel to that, at my job, when I was first starting out my first year, I would, you know, there was meetings that were happening all the time that I had really there was no need technically for me to be in the meeting, but I would raise my hand and say, hey, can I be a fly on the wall in this meeting? And I pulled a chair up to that table that I didn't initially have a seat at, but eventually, after raising my hands enough times, hearing the things that were being discussed, you know, I created a space for myself at that table. And so I would definitely encourage, you know, when you're starting out in the industry and you get into ICT, create a seat for yourself at that table, because it's not always given to you, but you can definitely pull yourself a chair up and you'll stay there. I promise you.
I think that's a very good point you said, Shannon. Put yourself forward. I think people really respect that and like it a lot in our industry, which is like a big family. So if you have to push and push your own boundaries, but push the boundaries of the environment you're in, and if you put for yourself forward, people will support you and, you know, will help you to do great things. I think it's a very good point you just made.
Thank you, Isabelle. Yes, absolutely.
I'll just add a little. Oh, Reuma, I'll let you go.
Thanks. I think, for example, my journey was starting with traditional sales and marketing roles. At the moment, over the past 6 years, I founded my own company, which is absolutely not sales, it's HR. So I'm a recruiter. So I think thinking out of the box and being new and different is quite important in every industry. But I think also in ICT, as Isabelle said, if you put yourself forward, people will come and support you. And that's exactly what happened in my journey when I established Pair Recruitment. People really supported me and talked to me, and we done beautiful things together because actually I've built my brand all these years. So I think my recommendation to the audience is work on your brand, make yourself visible to everyone, and always think out of the box. You never know, sometimes, you know, you started your path with being in technology, for example, you started as an engineer, but actually there was a role of chief product officer or different path in the journey, and just always think of different things that you could do and out of the box.
Mancy?
I'll just add to some of the things that have already been said. I think for me, for some reason, I just leaned into being new and different from the very beginning. I enjoyed being the first person who was coming in and bringing a different perspective, but more importantly, asking questions and showing a desire to learn and showing a desire to make an impact. That energy was welcomed most of the time. And I think that's something I carry with me even today. If I go to a new role, new team, new project, I go in with a lot of curiosity. I want to understand what's happening. I want to understand how I can help things get better. So I'd say, don't worry about being new. Use it. Use it to build your brand.
That's fantastic. That reminds me of, I think something my husband tells me very often. It's fake it until you own it, which is exactly that. So I think that's that's great. And maybe one more point before we move on to, you know, what makes the tech industry so exciting is, I think we've touched on a number of those, but what are some of the key success factors to really be, you know, a superstar in this industry? What's it going to differentiate you know, a high performer or really being successful versus the others? And I think you've mentioned some of those points, but maybe a bit more broadly.
I'll just add to what I said, and then we can pass it on to the others. So definitely desire to learn, drive to kind of make positive impact always helps. at the end of the day, we're using technology to build products that help customers, right? So the more you focus on how you're driving that impact, the more success you're going to see. Mentorship helps. Having partners who can guide you always helps. So those are some components that have certainly helped me in my journey. I'll let others chime in as well.
I think
Maybe I can go ahead, Reuma.
Go. Lisa.
Maybe one thing is to continue pushing yourself constantly. I've been in the industry, I won't tell you for how many years, quite a lot of years, and I'm still pushing myself outside of my comfort zone on a regular basis, all the time. Try to do new things that you've never done before. Try to do things you never thought you could do. And then you try them, let's say you may fail the first time, doesn't matter. You try them again and then you succeed. And then you're like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. And then the next time you do it, it's like, that was so easy. I can do that all the time. If you don't push yourself or try new things, you'll never find out how great you can be and how great you are. So, and it never stops. It's not just when you start in your career, it's throughout your whole career. I'm sure CEOs push themselves outside of their comfort zone on a daily basis. So I think that's one thing that only in that way you will find out what you can do. And how great. I never thought I would be where I am today without doing, when I started, I was very like everyone, imposter syndrome. I had it and I still have it, I'm sure, all the time. I've just learned to hide it with the experience. But so I think it's pushing yourself nonstop and not be worried to fail. And then you just keep you fail, you pick yourself up and you try again. You try differently, you try a different thing. I think that will bring you very far in any career that you may have.
And I'd love to add something too is don't be afraid to just not know or not understand certain things. I was the girl with all the questions when I first started off as an intern. That's literally what I was referred to sometimes. I was the girl with all the questions, but I owned that because it really served me, and I was not afraid to, I would sit in those meetings where I was a fly on the wall and had really no business being there, but to learn, and I would be taking notes. I would hear a term, a lingo term, industry lingo, or something that was said that I didn't grasp or understand, and I would circle back with some of the folks in the meeting and be like, hey, can we just can we talk about this? Can you explain this to me? So don't be afraid to do that, because that honestly looks really good on you to actively be asking those questions and owning the things that you don't understand.
I think my biggest recommendation is to be professional in what you're doing. Master your role. Even don't ever say, I'm young, I don't have experience, I just joined this company, I just joined this industry. Take responsibility of the role you've been offered and learn it and keep on learning. And as Shannon said, ask the questions and be super professional in what you're doing. Once you're professional in what you're doing and you master your role, you will get ahead so quickly and so far.
Yes,
go ahead. Maybe one thing I would add as well is never take no for an answer. I guess I'm an entrepreneur, so it's really part of managing your own business. So if someone tells you you can't do this, you will say, okay, fine, I'll find another way of doing it. Because a lot of people in life in general say the answer is no, and now what is your question? So it's just because someone says it can't be done or they don't want to do it with you, doesn't matter. Find another way of doing it, or try a different way. And because if you just someone tells you no and you say, okay, fine, I'll stop trying, then again, you won't get to where you want to be or where you should be. So never take no for an answer. And that's definitely my motto.
And also, you may be surprised by how few times you get a no. I remember in business school, we had an assignment which was to get 10 no's. And that's when you realize that the more you ask, actually, you end up getting a lot more yes than you thought you would get. So that's also part of it. Emily, was there anything you wanted to add before we move on to the next topic?
No, honestly, all of the ladies have pretty much summed up all of my experiences and thoughts. Just I think having a strong head on your shoulders, excuse me, have a strong head on your shoulders, like Shannon said, ask questions. That is so prominent of your learning and your growth. Be open-minded, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be that thought, that idea out of a box. You know, yeah, it's gonna say no, but build onto it. If you feel it's a confident strategy, build onto it. Come back and present it in another way where it might shine light and be very resourceful to the company. But trust your gut, I'd say.
And that brings us to the next topic, which is really what makes the tech industry so exciting, which is what we do day in, day out. You know, maybe just starting with me very quickly, because I'm on the finance side of things. So I invest in ICT, for example, funding data centers. And I find it incredibly rewarding and exciting that right now I am providing investments for data centers who are really building and being existential to the whole artificial intelligence revolution. So I feel like I'm kind of laying out the wires 100 years ago to have electricity to everybody. So I just find that, the ultimate purpose of what we do is very exciting. But that's just me. So I wanted to hear from, all of you, what makes it exciting about tech, and what do you enjoy the most?
I'll go first. I mean, just this is a great example right now of just having communities all around the world coming together, talking about their passions is one of the best things I think you can get out of this industry, is the people and the learning experiences you can get. The travel is definitely a little bonus on top, and seeing everybody in person. But I definitely think the people is what makes the industry really enlightening, and it's something you just want to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, for me, something that was really exciting was really realizing that the industry that I was stepping into was literally the building blocks and the foundation of the technologies that we take for granted really every day of our lives. And so being able to be a part in that and help, work with companies that are helping to bridge the digital divide, or, working for companies that are enabling these platforms such as ChatGPT to function, which, a lot of people just don't even think about. How is this even possible, down to the very first layer. And so for me, that was very exciting because, I love new and emerging technologies. I definitely nerd out about them. And so to be able to say I'm part of how this actually is possible, to me, that makes me proud and excited to be in this industry.
And then if I can add, I mean, I would say exactly like Emily, the people is the number one thing. We are like a big family. And I don't think there's that many industries, when I talk to my friends, that have that. We are truly a family. So a lot of people on this panel are my friends, and I really call them my friends. So that's the number one. You meet some incredible people from around the world. There's never a boring day in telecom because things evolve so quickly. Tomorrow will bring something completely different to today. So you will never be bored. I've never been bored in all my career, because every day is and it moves very fast as well. So you have to enjoy that. But I think one thing is you get to build the world, as Shannon said, but you also get to experience the world, because we work in an international industry, so we get to travel and meet people from all over the world. So I think you get the best of both worlds. We build it and we experience it. So I'm so happy I joined this industry, because I've met all of you amazing ladies, number one, and because I've experienced some incredible things. So we're very, very lucky to be in the industry. So if you're thinking of joining our industry, please do, because you will never regret it.
I'm just going to say +1 to everything that's been said. It's great to work with smart people. It's great to work with cutting edge of technology. It's great to actually solve problems that are interesting and that will have an impact on your life and of people around you. So for me personally, like, all of those factors just make it so exciting, and what keeps me in the industry.
I think just to make it a bit more clearer. So each country has their own telecom companies. So by working in this industry, we we talk to different countries and different telecoms in each country. Imagine if you could have all these countries coming together in one conference, or for you to travel to Italy because you're talking to Telecom Italia, for example. So this industry is very international, and I think the opportunities for people that join this industry is actually to explore the international market more than anything. But as I think, as many in the panel said, most important thing is the people. I don't know what's in our industry, but it's a collective of very, very smart and good people. That's the way I see it. And people still, I'm in the industry over 20 years. People in this industry are my best friends, more than best friends that I had from high school even. This comes to, you deal with these people, you see them quite regularly in conferences, you keep talking and knows about their family. So it becomes, as your second family.
Oh, this is great. No, it's very, very inspiring to hear. It makes me rethink my answer, which did not include people. So you see the finance side of things. Maybe as we kind of, start wrapping up a little bit, a bit of a fun question is, if you could go back, some of you is going to be 2 years ago, some other X years ago, and, at the beginning of your career, what advice would you give yourself to really kind of, I guess, maybe better prepare you, or just some things maybe you didn't know at the time that you wish you did?
I can start. I think I would choose maybe when I was 30 years old. I would tell my 30 years old self, because I had less wrinkle and I could go out at night very late and still be able to wake up early in the morning. So that would be my ideal age. And I would tell myself, get ready for an incredible ride, because this ride will be one that you never expected. And I would tell myself, you're better than you think you are, and the sky is the limit. So stop doubting yourself and just go for it. And that's what I would tell myself.
I think I could share one point in my career that I regret. And it was a point that I got promoted, and I had a big team of people. And as young me and ambitious me, I just wanted to dive into the product, dive into the role. And I didn't take the time to sit back, even for a couple of months, sit back and study. So I moved from doing one product to another product, and counting on my ambitious. I thought I can do it. It sells, even if it's different product. But thinking backwards, I would say sit back, study thoroughly, as my advice earlier, master what you're doing. That would have set me much better to the entire role that I've done. So, always don't just jump because you want to eat the world so quickly. Think, study, learn, and then you'll have your path to jump.
I love that. I'd like to add on to a little bit more about Reuma, because that's kind of my advice back, is just kind of being patient with yourself. Like, you might be in a situation or a job position that you feel like this isn't your all. This isn't what you came to do. You feel like you have better attributions that you could contribute to. And in that moment of time, you might feel stuck, or like this is the top of what you're going to get, and that's not true. And you just need to be patient. You need to really believe in yourself, invest in yourself. I think is very important, is taking the time and knowing who you are, what's best for you, and making that transition, and being patient with yourself, and just making sure that you're going on the path that you believe yourself to be.
I love that. And I'd love to add as well. I mean, just thinking back to starting off in the industry, I think I would probably want to speak to the version, or the intern that was just starting off, almost 7 years ago now, and probably remind her that all these people that, when you look around the conference room and you see all these executives and people who have highly impressive, resumes, and you might be slightly intimidated, but to remember that they all started, as an entry level at some point too. And, we're all human. Kind of just give yourself that perspective to kind of maybe take away those nerves and remember that they all started somewhere. They didn't just graduate and become the executive of X, Y, and Z company. And so have that in your mind when you go and speak to people like this and ask for their advice. Ask them about their journey, because it will really, hearing about the journeys that these people who are in these positions have gone through to get to where they are, it will probably give you some more perspective about just how many different jobs or different difficult situations or career pivoting they might have had to done to get there. And it's not just it will definitely help kind of ease some of those nerves around when you're looking around the room and seeing these folks, is really understanding the journeys, the very different journeys that people had to take to get to where they are. So just give yourself perspective, I would say.
Mancy, any final words?
Yeah, absolutely. I think already there's been wonderful advice. One piece that I would add out here is when you start your career, that's a great time to explore different opportunities, to ask the questions, to find out about different roles and paths. There's so much happening in the industry and so much is changing and evolving that we don't even know what might be possible in 10 years. So don't just accept what's in front of you. Dig around for what interests you and what motivates you, because you might be able to do something that you had never imagined.
This is great. Well, I mean, there's been some wonderful advice and snippets of wisdom as well here, and really, I think we've demonstrated just our passion for the industry and the people and just everything that is possible here, and how we all need to believe in ourselves and reach out and learn from people to progress as much as possible. So I want to thank the panelists for sharing your advice, everything else with us. And thank you for everybody who's been joining and listening to us.
Thank you, Genevieve.
Thank you, everyone. It was lovely.
Thank you.